is Eddie Mello and welcome to Car Habit Garage. Today, E36 fans, we've got a good one for you. This is the LS M3 September 2021 update. So we're going to today talk a little bit about the timeline. So just to give you an idea, I purchased the car, I took ownership of it on January 5th of 2021. It was shipped and arrived at Classic Daily in Michigan on February 23rd of 2021. And so that's roughly about 7 months in the build cycle from the time it arrived at Classic Daily. And I would say a lot of the time has been just waiting for parts, even though we ordered things early on. Due to COVID and a few other things, a lot of the electronic items have just been tough to get. Parts in general have been hard to get. So let's talk a little bit about some of the milestones that we've done. So the engine's installed for the final time. It's in there, all the proper mounts are in, and now we've also mounted the radiator for the final time, the electric puller fan, and the hoses are installed. The CARB legal air intake is in there, the AC hoses are connected, the new steering wheel I have was finally delivered, but it's not installed yet. The fuel pressure sensor, the evap tank, the regulator, and the fuel filter are all installed. The drive shaft was installed, and the engine harness and ECU have been started, but we're not quite complete yet. So let's kind of go through. I want to show you some pictures. So as you can see, here's the radiator, a brand new radiator. It's a Xerox puller fan, but the S52 M Coupe radiator, and then you can see some of the AC couplings. You know, we found some reusable AC hoses, and we had to put new connections onto them, and we installed them. So great progress right now. In the next slides, I'm going to show you a picture of the drive shaft. So the drive shaft was installed, custom drive shaft, and then we had to trim the heat shielding, but that also got put back on there. So really nice job by Jake. It's coming along quite a ways. The biggest issue was transplanting that 2010 Camaro SS fuel tank emissions into the E36. So if you look at the first picture here that I'm showing you folks, I kind of highlighted it. So that first gas tank you see there is actually the 2010 Camaro SS tank. And the tank behind it is actually the E36 gas tank. And so Jake pulled them out and kind of showed, those are all the devices that have to be connected to the other tank in order to pass California emissions. And the second picture is actually the GM body module that goes with the fuel tank evaporation emissions. And then the third picture is actually the evaporation tank and a closer up view, the pressure sensors and those kinds of things that go along with the 2010 Camaro SS gas tank. Really important. We did get a CARB waiver to use the E36 gas tank, the fuel tank, so we don't have that to worry about. We just got to make everything work with it. So with that, we're going to go to the next couple of pictures here. So the original there, all the way over, is the actual E36 OEM evaporation tank. And then on the second one is actually the 2010 installed in the same exact location as the original OEM evap tank. And it fits, and the bonus is that you can actually use the full spare exactly how it was meant to be in the picture. So pretty awesome stuff. We didn't have to do a whole lot there, except do some of the wiring to get the GM components connected up. Speaking of that, over here you can kind of see that's the actual pressure sensor, and the second picture is actually connecting that pressure sensor into the E36 gas tank system. And then I showed you a picture of the body module, which has to be mounted to the body somewhere on the E36 M3. And then connected up into the eventual ECU from the 2010 Camaro. In fact, just while we're on that, let's talk about the fuel filter and the regulator. We got these actually off of a Corvette. It seems to work fairly well as far as a filter and a regulator, and it's installed and it looks almost OEM. We put the shielding back over it, as you can see in the second picture. So things are looking good. We've got all the parts needed for emissions on the car and wired up. And so now it's just a matter of getting the engine harness, the wiring, and hooked up and then starting to actually do first test. So let's talk about this for just a minute on this update. So we had an engine harness and a ECU that came with our crate engine from GM Performance. which is basically an E-Rod engine. It's the same engine that came in the 2010 to 2014 SS Camaro, the LS3. And as you can see, it looks just like spaghetti, right? But we were just trying to extend the harness as far as we could so that we could mount the Camaro ECU close by to where the OEM ECU from the E36 would be. We also need to create a mount for that ECU, and then a fuse box as well. But we did end up using a dropout from a 2010 Camaro. We just grabbed the 2010 Camaro ECU and engine harness, and should work fine with the engine we're working, and will be perfectly acceptable for CARB standards as well. So a lot of big progress. Wanted to show pictures and give everyone an update because the emissions part is really key. Obviously the proof is in the pudding when we actually go and get the car and bring it out here to California and go in front of the smog referee, but we're not quite there yet. We still have to get a little ways to go for first start, so I expect that to happen by the time I update you next. In fact, it's really going to happen this next week coming up. We do not have the exhaust installed yet, so we'll be running it straight out with catalytic converters, but we expect to, once the steel comes in, we'll put up our own custom exhaust, and we'll get that taken care of. But the exciting part is that we'll have first start this next week, and I'm really looking forward to giving all the people who've been interested in this project that great news once we get it started. So here's another picture. As you guys know, the E36 battery is mounted in the back, so we use and it's part of the engine, the harness. So we took that out of the harness and then ran it all the way back up to where it goes, where the positive cable sign is in the engine bay, and it's in the same exact OEM location. But here's a nice picture of it connected up, so you see the wiring to the alternator and the starter. So that's all ready to go. So with that being said, let's kind of get into what's left to go. So this is just to kind of make it ready to actually drive off. So we got to finish the wiring and get the first start, and so test it, make sure the engine fires up. We got to do the exhaust, right? And so we have ideas about what kind of exhaust. We still want this to be sort of a sleeper, so it won't be super loud. Obviously, you'll know there's a V8 in there. I bought some new, they look like ZKWs, but they're actually depot projector lights. And so I'm really looking forward to getting those installed. The fog lamps have to be put back in. Hood insulation's been on order, should be coming back in so that we make this thing a little quieter. The Euro radiator shroud needs to come in. And then we still have to fix and finish the interior. We have the OEM alarm needs to be kind of fixed, the central door locking. Both windows kind of stick, so probably the regulators are going out, or the motors themselves. And then the sunroof needs to be, motor needs to be added so that the sunroof opens and closes. And then Jake's, needs to ring out all the different issues as he drives it, right? How's the steering, how's the engine performance, and etc. And then we need to make sure that it has a California, it has the original 2010 LS3 ECU code running on it. And then, once that happens, the next steps are, get it wrung out, get the interior finished. There's still quite a bit to do there. And then ship it back out here to California and make an appointment with the bar referee so that we can get our EO CARB sticker. So I'm really looking forward to that. Obviously, lots more to go. We're 7 months in. If I think this will go fast, I say we get the car back sometime in 6 weeks, but I'm probably thinking it's probably more 8 weeks to 10 weeks. So 2.5 months probably before we actually get the car back. So with that, I'd like to say, if you like what you're seeing here, guys, subscribe. This is our first build. We're doing these 90s Restomods. We've got a couple other projects that we'd like to line up. Give us feedback, as always, and have a fantastic day. Thank you.